Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal Saloon. I'm your host, Jay Hill. How are you all doing this evening? Hopefully, good. So, tonight I have a fantastic guest. He's actually a really good friend of mine. His name's Nathaniel Elwell. And yeah, uh, I've had him on my other podcast before, and he's always a good conversation piece. So, without further ado, let's get him on here. Hey, brother.
Jay, how you doing, man? It's great to be back on. I know last time we spoke, it was Studio 6 way back in the day, man. I'm looking forward to this
Yeah,
conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it was me and Shane Feek.
Yeah.
Yep, my host Shane Feek. Yep. So I've been trying to, moving things around and trying to get, some of my new podcast shows updated and this and that and so I decided to throw this together a week or so ago and I knew that I had to have you back on because we've always had good rapport. So I'd love to
Oh
hear
yeah.
what you got going on. So what do you have going on as of late?
Oh man, I've got a lot going on. I'm still doing my TikTok thing. Even though the TikTok ban thing happened for a whole like 12 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and people were freaking out. But I tried to do a video on my TikTok to tell people beforehand. Instead of stressing out about TikTok disappearing, find different platforms, find a way to adapt and improvise,
Mm-hmm.
because you know, we don't know if that platform is going to be here forever, but you might have 5.6 million followers on there, and you may have like 2,000 followers on YouTube. You know what? Instead of using that platform to push yourself on TikTok, knowing it's not going to be there forever, use that platform to push your YouTube. You can still get your content out there. It's just the basis of how you push it.
Right. Correct. Yeah. I mean, I have my YouTube page has been kind of stagnant for a few years now.
Same.
My Studio 6 Media Productions, and I've got all my shows under there and some other things, so um yeah, I think I was at like 217 or something like that last time I checked. And then I had a couple shows from uh, the saloon, and I gained like a dozen followers within a matter of days. I was like, well, okay. So I got, as little as it is, but I got to be doing something right.
You know what? People think that you have to have a mass growth, right? It's not. It's
Hmm.
got to be a gradual growth, especially if you're starting something new. Like, this Paranormal Saloon is a new podcast, right?
Right.
So it's not like I don't think you expected it out of the gate to gain like 100K followers. I mean, I feel like you
No.
think in the same way that I do, that the
Hmm.
gradual growth is better than no growth at all.
Right. No, you're correct. I mean, I think it takes time to organize things and get things in the content out there that you want to get out there so that people can try to connect to it. That's why I like to have a different collective of guests on my show, not just one track, thought process. I kind of like to,
Right.
expand it out, and
Well, if you're
I
if you're
mean,
inter if you're interested, Jay, I've got several people that I know that I think would be great guests for the show. I could definitely
okay,
point them in your direction, or I could point you in their direction.
right,
Um, I don't mind
yeah,
helping build the brand, brother.
no, I appreciate that. No, yeah, I'm always open for new guests and making new relationships with people and meeting new people, and I've met some great people in the last year, that have become good friends, I mean, so this isn't new to me per se, but with the whole restream being able to broadcast on TikTok, that's kind of huge. I have
That
increased
is.
some followers on that, but um yeah,
I
it's
would
just the
love to, I
fact
would I
that
would love to I would love to figure out how that whole process works. If you could walk me through that maybe sometime within the next few weeks
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
So anytime I have a podcast, if I decide to use, if they decide to use this platform, I can connect it to my TikTok, which I actually tried to do before we actually started
uh-huh,
talking earlier. And
right,
for some reason, it wouldn't let me connect to the TikTok. I don't know why, but it is what it
yeah,
is.
right, and I use restream, and I liked it better than StreamYard. I like the layout is better, the colors are better. I used a darker theme just because of the fact that I don't want that white background, glaring in my face, so to speak. But
Oh, like this will glare if I take my hat off?
Yeah, yeah, right. So yeah, but so how has TikTok been? I mean, you've been kind of killing it.
You know, TikTok is going well. I'm going to be putting on a merch line soon, which I'll make sure that you get a coffee cup and a t-shirt on me.
All right.
I'll have to get your address. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But TikTok is going well, man. Still doing my breakdown thing. As a matter of fact, I've got a new piece that I got from my girlfriend that
Oh wow.
so I've started to, in a way, try to change my style because I feel like doing the screenshots and stuff, yeah, that's all great to get the information out there, right? But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people may not see what I'm talking about through a still frame. They might need to see the actual video clip, or they may need to see a recreation, which, I've done recreations in the past. But
Mm-hmm.
this is going to add a whole new dynamic to my recreations because not only do I have this now where I could recreate what they call white crawlers or the rake videos, I'm ordering a green screen suit so I can demonstrate live how objects can be, I guess, levitated
Right.
without manipulation using the proper chroma key set on a film editor.
Right. Yeah. There's so many different videos out there that you kind of wonder how they do that or how did that. Um, and I would have to say, unlike the the one video that you were talking about, with the rake.
Yep,
What is that? Yeah. So it's hard to kind of wrap your head around it. People like a lot of things on TikTok and even YouTube and all that. Before TikTok even came, YouTube was it.
yes,
And people would watch these videos religiously and think, oh my gosh, it's all great. You take it with a grain of salt because it's entertainment. You
it
know,
is.
I'm just kind of like, if you actually put some of that stuff out there that was really legit, and I'm not saying that not that all of it isn't legit. It's just the fact that what you do is you kind of go in there and you look at the video and say, okay, let's look at the truth behind it, or the possibility that this can actually be real, or if it's not real. So
Right.
that's why your TikTok is doing so well, because of the fact that you have that ability to discern what's fake and what's not fake. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
your still your opinion, but unless you can prove it, you know what I mean, without a shadow of a doubt. But it gives people their opportunity to make up their own mind. You know what I
right.
mean?
It gives people the opportunity to take the video, at face value, right?
Hmm.
And then look at the things that I point out and then maybe make their own opinion as to whether or not I'm correct or if I'm not. Because I'm not going to lie to you, there's so many people on TikTok that think I'm a firm skeptic when in the opposite, I'm a firm believer.
Hmm.
But I also believe that there are people out there who use the platform specifically to make money. They make these fake videos and then
Right.
they try to pass them off as real. And some of these people out there that are doing this have like, 4 or 5 million followers. And it's crazy to me that people will sit there and watch this and they don't take the time to try and look at it with a grain of salt. And what people don't realize is, my little 1 to 2, sometimes it's longer. I've done, I think the longest video I've done is 7 minutes. I try not
Hmm.
to do it that long because no one wants to look at this ugly face for 7 minutes. But
I'll give yourself a little credit. Come on.
I try my best to keep my videos, down to 3 minutes. That's like the max I like to go. But with my new setup, it's going to be a little bit different. They are going to be a little bit longer, but there's nothing I can do about that because I'm going to be showing live video clips to show them exactly what I'm seeing. Because typically a TikTok video for 3 minutes will take me about 4 weeks to prepare and put together. Because
Hmm.
I sit there, I download the video, and I watch every single video frame by frame. So I can look for the little glitches. I can look for screen cuts. I can look for where the film might jump up really quickly. But if you were watching it in live time, you may not have noticed it if it was a 0.2 second video
Hmm.
jump.
Right.
And that's why I think that the work that I do, as far as what I do on TikTok, is essential to the paranormal because you need to be able to keep that skeptical mindset and realize that you cannot take every single video at face value as much as you want to.
Right. A lot of people don't take enough time to go through some of that stuff, and they're just if they're investigating or if they're looking back at the footage or whatever, it's just you know there's certain things that as an investigator, even as a researcher, that you need to pay attention to. And same thing with editing. You really need to look at that's if people have like already edited their videos and this and that, so they can see one of your videos, they can pretty much know what they're looking at.
Right. And let me tell
You
you,
know,
and there's an account on TikTok called Smug Puppy, which people love.
yeah.
Um, yeah, they've blocked me. I've done four. I did four of their videos, and I got a very nasty response to them from them by one of my videos. And yeah, you know what? I got no respect for those people. Um, but they have like I think 3.6 million followers, and they do nothing but create fake stuff. It just doesn't make
Right.
sense to me. But it does make sense in a way because people don't want the truth, they want to be entertained.
Gotcha. That's the biggest thing for people to not adhere to, is the fact that even though it may be blatantly fake, it's entertainment. That's what they're
Right.
drawn to, and I guess when did it become where we need to be more entertained than we are, I don't know, using common sense?
Right.
You know.
And I'm not sure how comfortable you are with me calling out certain shows or whatever on the show, so I'm going to kind of refrain from my own thoughts. Um but like when you
This
go back to the original
no,
Ghost Hunters, right? The OG
right,
Ghost Hunters, when it was
right.
Jason Hawes, I mean, that show was amazing. The way that they took the time to go
Hmm.
through and look at everything that happened from an actual logical lens. But
Right.
they go back now and you watch the reboot that they did, what, 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the same.
Right. No, and I think it was being in the different cast and crew, and different ideas, and I could see the purpose of it, but you're right, it wasn't the same. And don't get me wrong, I know the cast and crew of that were great. They
Oh,
put their heart and
absolutely.
soul into it. And but when people are so used to listening or watching, like watching a movie, and then they remake the movie years later, and they say it's still the same kind of cast, but it's different people. It's hard to get attracted to that. It's hard to
It is.
accept that. You know what I mean?
It is, especially if you're a hardcore fan of the original. Like for me, it would be Halloween. I love Halloween, the
Hmm.
1978 Halloween, one of my favorite movies of all time. And then you have the Rob Zombie version, and I just thought it was absolute crap. I understand that it was his own revisioning of the movie, but it wasn't
Hmm.
good.
Right. Right. Well,
But
look at
I,
Friday the
I
13th.
oh yeah, that's a good
Same
example
thing.
too.
That's the same thing. I
Very good
mean, I
example.
grew up watching the very first one. Yeah, that was a terrifying movie, but if we look back at it now, it's like, oh my gosh, that was really cheesy. But
Right,
it
and I've
was,
and I've
but then it
and
was
I've tried
freaky.
and I've tried my best to explain to people who are, they're fans of Freddy Krueger, which I have nothing against, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
Johnny Depp got his start on Nightmare on Elm Street and 21 Jump Street. So I have
Right.
no
Right.
issue. I have no
Right.
issue with that movie because Johnny Depp's a great actor. He might not be the best
Right.
person, but he's good. But
Right.
when you go back and you look at it, it's like when you look at the original Halloween, it was more theatrics than it was gore. If
Right.
it wasn't, they didn't need the visual scares. They just needed the music.
Yeah, the music's backing up the gory scene.
Yeah,
And that
and it
whole
was great. It was very well
whole
done.
dramatic. Yeah. If you look into was it Wes Craven that directed that?
No, John Carpenter.
Oh, Carpenter. Okay. And then when they came up with that one movie where it was kind of like the behind the scenes movie of Nightmare on Elm Street, that was kind of freaky.
I'm
That was
sorry. Yes,
more
I misunderstood. Yes, Wes Craven did Nightmare on Elm Street. You're 100%
okay.
right.
Okay. 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 So, um, that whole movie was basically what happens. What if something actually happened from making that movie. And that movie was really freaky. I mean, that was just A New Nightmare, I think it was called.
Oh, yep.
Yep. Yep. Wes
It's,
Craven was a
it's
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yep.
so
Yep.
here's the thing. Like, if you take, say, a Freddy Krueger style character, right, one that could attack you in your dreams,
Mhm.
that's a very scary concept if you think
It
about it.
is. Mhm.
And here would be my question on that, because I know multiple people who have saw that movie, and then afterwards, they started having nightmares seeing Freddy, attacking them in their dream, which that's what a horror movie's supposed to do. It's supposed to mess with you
Right.
psychologically.
Mhm.
So, what is the plausibility of people waking up with said scratch marks after having a dream about Freddy? I mean, would Freddy technically be a thought form? Would he not be like a tulpa?
Right. Well, if you look at it that way, I mean, possibly, but more or less, uh, your brain, your brain has a way of. It's kind of like when if you fall in your dream, or if you break something, or whatever, your body will react to that, whatever, if depending on the intense dream is. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've had scratches on me that I know that it's not that I live in a haunted house or a haunted location, because I don't. But I've woken up and I have scratches or whatever. If I don't know, remember what I dreamed, but I'm saying that you could possibly do it to yourself inadvertently, not knowingly. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're just in that frame of mind, but
Valid.
you know what I mean. So, um, depending if you're living or you're residing in a haunted location, um, yeah, anything's possible. I guess. I
So
mean,
I,
there's
I
been
can tell
a.
you that I know that the house that I live in definitely has activity. It was built in 1865,
Oh wow.
and my actual bedroom window over here overlooks the oldest cemetery in the town. The earliest grave that I could find that was legible was 1837.
Oh wow. Wow. That's crazy.
And everyone that lives in this house has had experiences. We've seen an old woman at the bottom of the staircase. Matter of fact, there was one night I went downstairs and came face to face with her and damn near crapped my pants. Uh, I turned the corner and it's like literally right in my face.
Wow.
There for a second and gone.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy. So let me ask you, how long have you lived there?
Um, so so this is currently my parents' house. I lived here for 4 years before I met my ex. And then I moved in with her. And then once we separated, I moved back in here. So I've been living here for about a year again now, but in total about 6 years.
Okay. Okay. Now, is it something that you basically have you investigated your own home?
It's a rule of thumb by paranormal investigators that you don't investigate your own house.
Oh.
Um, that should be a simple rule of thumb, because you don't know what you're attracting in whenever you try to make contact with the spiritual realm. You can sit
Mm-hmm.
there and say, if there's anyone here, come and contact me. But here's the thing: you can, in fact, investigate your own house if you do it properly. Don't open up to all spirits. Just say
Right.
simply
Right. Right.
to whatever spirits are residing in this
Right.
house or on this property,
Right.
please come
Right.
forward and make contact. So I got the season 2 of my paranormal app test coming up. So whether or not anyone who else lives here knows it, yes, I will be investigating this house because I kind of have to do the app tests.
Right. Right. Have you thought about bringing outsiders into your home?
I have not, because my whole family is on my paranormal investigation team. So my mother, my father, my brother, they're all part of my paranormal team. So they kind of understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Okay. So, I mean, it was just a thought that you have a. It's kind of like having a third party that verifies your background. You know what I mean? So
So,
it's like you're
okay.
having an extra party come in and.
So my girlfriend is actually a psychic medium, and
Okay.
she has been here and she has picked up on things, and it's been scarily accurate.
Okay.
And I'm just going to sit here and tell you that it freaks me out sometimes. And me and her have had this conversation because I'm not a believer in psychics.
Right.
So
Right.
when she's able to sit there and describe to me physically what I saw without me telling her what I saw, it kind of
Mhm.
opens up my mind. It broadens my horizons a little bit because, yes, I'm skeptical against them,
Mhm.
but maybe there is something that is beyond my understanding going on with certain people.
Mhm.
And she just has that connection. Like she'll come here sometimes and it just hits her and she'll open up and it's 100% accurate.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's good to have um, somebody close to you that actually, especially with the work that you guys do, having a medium in the mix, just
I can,
because
I
it,
can tell
it
you
works.
in my 18 years of investigating the paranormal, I have never once used a medium.
Right.
So going forward, me and her have already discussed this. She's going to become part of my team, and I'm going to try and, I guess you could say, get over my skepticism,
Okay.
and I'm going to give it a shot
Okay.
because it doesn't hurt.
Right. No, it doesn't. I mean, having an open mind, especially dealing with the paranormal and spiritualism and all those things. I mean, it's just if you don't have an open mind to what's the other side is explaining to you, it's going to be hard to deal with some of the investigations and whatnot and everything to do with the paranormal, and you got to be open
Right,
minded, you
right.
know. So,
So have you ever had an experience, Jay, with a psychic that you just were like blown away that you could not explain? I know you're the
I
host, but yes, I'm asking you a question this time.
well, no, I'm actually a psychic medium.
You
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
that. I
yes,
forgot. Shit, my
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I've had some crazy things being a psychic medium. I've had other mediums validate some of the things that I've seen. You know what I
Interesting.
mean? So um that's actually how I found out who one of my guides was. My main guide, another medium threw out her name and she says, "You know that name?" And I'm like, "How do I know that name?" And I'm like, "Oh." And she didn't know anything about my grandparents, nothing. She barely knew me, and she came up with my grandmother's name, and that's who it was. And then all of a sudden it made sense, um, because the day before, a couple days before, I went to visit my grandmother's grave. She's buried next to my mother and my father and my grandfather. So I was basically just saying hi, and I was like trying to figure out, you know, what I was experiencing with my gifts and things were happening and this and that. And then that night I went to, we got home and I later on went to bed. And when I was laying in bed, I don't remember if I was awake or asleep, but there was a lady floating 5 feet off the floor standing in my bedroom. And I knew who it was. It was my grandmother. And I knew who it was. The first words out of my mouth was, "Oh shit." Yeah, seriously. And I I I don't remember anything after that. And then I was like, okay, and
So,
then I kind of knew.
so being psychic, and me and my girlfriend, we've had conversations on it. So, are your guides like? I don't understand how the whole guide things work.
Hmm.
Um, are they just beings that talk to you as far as like pushing you in the right direction?
No,
I'm just trying to
do
figure out
we? No,
how it
well,
works.
we all have to make up our own choices. That's what free will is. Okay,
Hmm.
your guides can't tell you what to do. I mean, they can make suggestions, but they're not going to, forcibly say you have to do this, or unless
Right.
it's a life saving event that You basically, kind of wrote down before you got here that I need some intervention. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
that's happened before. And it's just, there's so many different variables. Like I said, no mediums is the same. Every medium is completely different. They may do similar things, but they're completely different. And
Okay.
mediums know mediums. So if like I walk up to a person on the street and I don't know them, it, it's almost like wearing a golden hat. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
like you could see it and like, oh, that she's a medium or he's a medium or he's gifted. You know what I mean? The severity of the
It's
light.
like it's like the connection. You just know it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes
pretty
sense.
much.
Like I said, it was just something that I wasn't fully under the understanding of. So I was just kind of trying to gather more information, I guess.
Yeah, there's some
'Cause
people that may never know their guides. They may stay in behind the curtain, so to speak. I mean, they may still give you some guidance or certain things here and there, but um, yeah, it's just until I fully opened up who I was and who I was connecting with. I get my grandmother in my ear all the time. You know, I mean, but that is more or less not so much on a spiritual side. It's more of a why are you doing that? Or
right.
or my mother would chime in and say, "Are you really not going to empty the dishwasher?" Or something like that, just because that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I would,
Right.
so
I I can I can tell you that my girlfriend tells me all the time with her having gifts that I have gifts that I have no idea that I have. And she constantly tells me to stop looking at it from a skeptical standpoint
hmm
and just open up and I'll figure out what they are.
right. Well,
It's very difficult for me to do that considering the work that I do, you know what I mean?
right, but because the fact that um having gifts, we all have gifts, we all have the
Yep.
ability, but it's just a matter of opening that door and walking through it, or peeking in it every once in a while, or you know listening in on the other side. You know what I mean? It's just um it's a choice, and
It is. And I
once you
know that
get
I have.
into it, yeah, once you get into it, you'll know more so.
Yeah, and I know that I have a gift of precognition. Sometimes I'll see things in my dreams before they happen.
Oh yeah, I get that too. Yeah.
So I know there's some kind of ability there, but I'm at the same point I'm not willing to put myself out there as a psychic because I'm not a psychic. I'm not a
Okay.
medium.
No, okay, I get that. But here's the one thing I will tell you. When that time, if and when that time comes, get out of your own way. That's all I'm going to say. Get out of your own way. If and when that does come for you and you'll know it, just get out of the way.
Just let it
Because
happen.
if and when, I don't make any predictions. I don't see the
Right.
future, but I'm just saying, if and when that does happen, just get out of your own way, because I didn't adhere to that. And it was more difficult than I wanted it to be. Than it had to be. You know
And I
what I
and I
mean?
think
So
and I think that's what she's concerned about. She thinks I'm making this more difficult than what it needs to be because I refuse to accept the fact, I guess.
right, right. Everything is about timing. You got to realize that people with who have their gifts or have gifts and they want to open them, or they want you can't force the issue. Your body and
Right.
your spiritual mind and your spirit has to be ready to do so. Sometimes they're kind of shoved into that, but then they're already a backup plan for you to be ready for it. You know, Spiritualism, frequencies, the whole 9 yards.
I can
And
tell you that I ain't got no backup plan. When the stuff happens, it's just gonna hit the fan, and I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have
right,
to roll with it.
right, pretty much. But that's your attitude, though. That's how you with your life's history, how to deal with adversity, because I can see it in you that you just deal with it as it comes. It may suck at times, but you push right through it, and
That's how
nobody
I've always
sees you.
been.
Right, and no, but no, there's a lot of people that don't see you behind closed doors, where you feel beaten and you feel roughed up and everything, but you still put on that solid face and you come on that camera and you do what you got to do, and that's noble in that sense.
That's the only way I know how to be.
Right, right. Well, I can see that, and I don't have to be psychic to see that.
Well, I appreciate the compliment.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, I've always liked your stuff and your content, and I just, I know that you've been going through some things as of late, and I really, pray for you and continue to wish you the best in the things that you're going through. But it seems to me like some of your things are smoothing out, and I'm
They
happy
are.
that they are.
They are, and I don't mind discussing that here on the podcast if you want. There was a point in time, several months ago, probably maybe 8 to 6 months ago, where I went through a few life-changing events and things got very dark for me.
Hmm.
And, I was dealing with mental health issues and among other things, and, had suicidal thoughts and stuff. But luckily I had friends that I could reach out to, and I'm still here. I'm still doing my thing. I'm still pushing forward
Hmm.
because it's not in me to give up. I can
Right.
be beaten down all day long, but I'm
Hmm.
never gonna give up.
Mm-mm. Nope. No, and I know that I like I said, I saw that some months ago, and I was worried about you, thinking about you, and but I know that you have that support system. When I sent that message to you, that you have a big support system around
Yep,
you, that is key. A lot of people don't
it is.
realize that having that support system, no matter what you do, no matter if you're working at Burger King or if you're working at McDonald's, or you're a videographer, whatever, as long as you have that support system, especially if you're in the paranormal and you've got that support system, that's great. That's
And
huge.
yeah, and it doesn't matter your job. You're right, 100%. Let me tell you, I supervised McDonald's for 14 years before I moved here to New Hampshire and got the job that I have now.
Hmm.
When I applied for McDonald's up here, they
Hmm.
told me I was overqualified. How in the hell are you
Well, you over
overqualified to work at
right,
McDonald's?
right. I don't know, man, but that's a new one on me.
But you know what? In hindsight, something better happened because now I'm a CNC programmer for a company that builds bridges. I mean,
Nice.
I have a very good job. I love my job, and I can be proud of it because whenever I see that bridge go together and then it's put in place,
That's part of
a,
you.
that's a huge thing of the infrastructure of the U.S. So I
Right,
can be
right.
proud of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of people out in the world today that don't feel that way. they
Right.
they work they work the 9 to 5 job and sit behind a desk and not do anything. People
Even if even if
people
you
make a
work the
difference.
But
Yeah.
even if you work that 9 to 5 and say you're sitting behind a desk, right? Or you're sitting back there in the kitchen flinging burgers, or you're a chef at a restaurant. Every person out there, your specific job field, it matters.
Right. It does. It really does. Now, there's somebody said something funny. I gotta put this up. When you were talking about being overqualified for McDonald's, this is what somebody said in the chats.
I'm curious.
It's because you knew how to work the ice cream machine.
George DaCosta, my good friend George. So George, as a matter of fact, I was in charge of cleaning the ice cream machine at McDonald's. So I can tell you right now that
uh,
anytime the ice cream machine is not working inside Secret, it's one of two things. Either A, it wasn't cleaned properly and it went into something called heat mode, which when it goes into heat mode, it comes out as straight liquid cream, so you can't use
right.
the ice cream. Or two, you did not clean it quick enough and it goes into what's called freeze mode. And the freeze mode makes it to where you cannot use the ice cream at all. And then you have that very rare circumstance, which I have seen twice, and it's hilarious when someone puts the ice cream machine back together wrong and they start it up
Yeah.
and the ice cream blows out of the top into their face.
Right. 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 So it's probably one of the three. Okay.
One of the three.
I know that's funny. That's funny.
I
Um.
love George though.
So
George Acosta, he's a great friend of mine. I love George to death. George, thank you for tuning into the show, brother.
yeah. Well, you've got, like I said before, you've got a good fan base, and I'm really curious to see some of the more of the interesting things that you got coming up on TikTok, and some of the other things that you got going on. You know, it's
Yes,
just we got to support each other, especially on this endeavor and like podcasting and like the paranormal and
right.
the whole gamut of everything. I've really kind of removed myself from some of the drama and all that stuff on Facebook just because I just couldn't take it anymore. And I know that you've got some opinions on that. You know, so let it fly, brother. I want to hear what you got to say.
My opinion on this is why the hate.
Hmm.
We are all in this for the same common goal,
Hmm.
right? To prove that the paranormal exists. Here's the thing: is people are arguing for nonsensical reasons, because realistically, until we can take the paranormal and put it into a scientifically controlled environment, like say we capture a ghost, right, which god
Hmm.
forbid that's probably never going to happen, and we put
Right.
it into a scientifically controlled environment where we can run a hypothesis with a test and a control, and you can get repeated results, the paranormal is going to be nothing more than a pseudoscience. That's all it will ever be.
Right.
So why are we fighting against each other? Why
Right.
can we not just come together in unity to push forward with the brand of research, not
Hmm.
the brand of it's about me and my team? Get over yourselves. You're nothing special.
Right. And that's another thing too is I've noticed that when I first started doing this, like on Facebook and I had my own team and I had this and I had lofty dreams because I thought, man, I really want to do this and I want to do that. And then when I realized that I was kind of in the beginning of it, I was like, why am I here? And I had to really kind of question myself, why am I doing this and what are the benefits of doing this? Is it for my ego or is it for something more greater than I am? And it took a long time to really kind of wrestle with that, figure out why am I doing this? And that kind of goes with anything. Why are you working this job if this job isn't for you? Or if
Right.
don't like the job or whatever. If you're doing it just to pay your bills and you're sacrificing yourself for what?
If you
So
don't,
I really had
if
to
you
just kind of go back and look at the whole thing with the paranormal and
if you
figure out
don't if you don't like your job, you will never succeed at your job because it's going to seem too much like work. If you
right,
love your job, you go to work, you have fun, then that's a job that you should be in.
right. I agree. I mean, love what you do what you love.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
you know, and in reference to what I had said previously, like I don't try to make waves as far as it comes to the paranormal drama. I try to stay out of it.
I do
It's got
too.
nothing to do with me. I don't care what he said, she said, because you know what? I'm friend with Rob from Get Haunted, and I know that some people don't like Get Haunted, and I
Right,
don't care.
right.
Um, I find connections where the connections find me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nothing to do with anybody else's personal standpoint. It
Mm-hmm.
has to do with if I find a reason that I don't like that person, guess what? I'm gonna unfriend them. I'm gonna block them. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm damn sure not gonna blast them on social media because it's not my place.
Right. I went through something a few years ago similar. I was friends with somebody, and this other person said that they had a falling out. They hate each other. Da da
Yep.
da da da. And I said, and they said, and one person said, "Well, I can't be on the show if you're going to be on that show. If you're going," I'm like, that's fine, but I will not be guilty of association.
No. Ever.
It's my choice. If I want to have that person on, or if I'm friends with that person, then that's the way I'm going to do it. Whatever's
Yes.
happening between you and this other person, that's between you and that other person.
It has
Has nothing
nothing
to
to
do
do with
with
you.
me at all. Right. Yep. So I'm not
And
going to be guilty by association, and I've told
nope. And
everybody
and and
knows that.
and I stand strong by that, and I respect you for that, because let me
Yeah.
tell you, like, there have been so many people who have approached me about different people that I have friends, and they're like, if you're associated with that person, then I don't want to associate with you. I'm like, okay, then fucking kick rocks. Excuse my
Right.
language.
Right. No.
Because
This.
I'm sorry, that person has never done anything to me. What they did to you
Right.
is what they did to you.
Right. Right.
Until
Yeah.
they do me wrong, I will
Right.
hold them 100% at their word.
Right. Right. And that's another thing too. I've rarely blocked people. I have a small list,
We
but
all do. We all
yeah,
do.
we have a small list, but I can't sit here and listen to the back and forth all the time because I'm just that's not when I first came on Facebook, it was 2000 what, 2009 when Facebook came out.
I don't know
And
when it came out. Actually, it's kind of funny you asked that because my son was asking me a question earlier and he was all like, well, when did Facebook come out? I'm like, buddy, I don't know. Back in my day, it was MySpace.
yeah, yeah, I remember MySpace. I had a page on MySpace. Oh my gosh. Um, but yeah, it was. I think it was 2009, and I connected basically with high school people, people I went to high school with, and we would talk about catching up and doing this and that. It wasn't any of this politics. It wasn't any of this
Right.
infighting. It wasn't any of this. It was people posting pictures about, look what I made for dinner today. Oh, that's great. It was friendly, and then all of a sudden, it was like somebody flicked a switch, and all
Literally.
this. Oh my gosh.
It was
And
literally within like the course of a few days, it went
hmm
from everything being just wholesome and friendly to
right.
animosity.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It makes
Oh
no
yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah. I don't get it. But I did early on. I had political views on things, and then I realized that some of these people were bashing me for my views, and one of them was a really good friend of mine, and I found out that he didn't share the same views, and I said, oh, okay, that's fine, whatever. But he basically was blasting me, and this was back in 2013, 14, and I was like, and so I stopped after about a year of that. I scrubbed everything political, and then I dove headlong into paranormal, and then I stayed there ever since.
And you know
And
what?
I see all that political stuff, but I just scroll right on by it.
I hate political stuff. I never get involved in political things. I have had so many people ask me on podcasts in the past, oh, who are you going to vote for when the time comes up?
Oh,
My
hell
typical
no!
response, my typical response is that's none of your fucking concern.
Right, right. It's none of your business because I don't even.
Because I hate to tell you, I don't vote. So
Yeah, no, that's your choice.
I just don't see the point because I'm sorry, I'm not going to vote for the shiniest of two turds. It's not my standpoint.
Well, and that's like I said, that's your choice. That's why we all have free will to do what we want to do. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
so
I've got nothing against it. Like, it is what it is. If you want to be political, but be political somewhere outside of my range, please.
right, right. I have a small circle, and that is not allowed. It's kind of like having. Remember when we were kids, and then you'd have like a private group where you had your own treehouse, and or you had boys only, and you would just have this whole where you would run around the neighborhood with kids and
You know what? Instead of doing the treehouse thing, someone should re-implement the yearly, like you gather your six best friends and you guys go on a camping trip every year.
right, kind of like up the was it without a paddle.
Oh no, 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 no! We don't need to do it without a paddle thing because I saw how that ended out.
Yeah, yeah,
Or dream catcher. We need to kind
yeah,
of go away from that. Just a
right,
wholesome, you get together with your friends because you know what, we're all getting older.
right, yeah.
You don't
I
know how
remember
much time.
yeah, I remember growing up and I was 12, 13 years old. I was playing D&D.
I've never
you
played it.
know
I've always been curious.
oh my gosh, it's it's hard to describe. I mean, you kind of had to be a kid to be there, but We played a lot of different D&D type games. We were playing James Bond. We were playing futuristic war games and stuff like that. But it was all role play, and we would get together a couple times a week. When we were on the weekends. After we didn't have school, we would just sit in this our friend's basement, and we would
Well,
all.
well, when it comes to D&D, there's nothing saying you can't do that now. I mean, is there anything saying you can't do D&D virtually?
Yeah, there is a game store. It's just a that has board games and all role playing games and all a bunch of other action figure type stuff. And I drive by the store, and you can look in the door, and you've got a table in the back, and all these kids are playing role playing games at a
That's
round
awesome.
table. It is. It really is. And I kind of was like, gosh, could
You
I
wanted to
actually
go
do
in there
that
and show them
again?
your skills, admit it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's been so
You wanted
long.
to go in there and flaunt that. You wanted to
Yeah,
be like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah. You know, D&D started um, in the town that I was born in the
really?
town I live in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Yep, yep. Guy,
Wisconsin. Are you going to be at the
yeah.
Paranormal Rockdown?
No, I wasn't invited. So
Ah,
I was not invited. I don't think I've ever been invited to anything in the Broadhead.
let me see what I can do.
Nah, that's you don't have to. It's all
But I
right.
want to.
Yeah, I just
I'm
I've
actually,
I've
I'm
I've
actually not.
actually I've actually offered to do my show there a couple times, and yeah, it's just I was there once for a Paracon a couple years ago, and um, yeah, it just was okay. I just
Well, I can tell
I
you.
don't get in. Let's put it this way: I don't get invited to a lot of different things.
I'll tell you this. I will be at the Paranormal Rockdown in July.
Yeah,
I would, I would like to see you if that's doable.
yeah, yeah. We'll see if we can't make that happen.
Um, but I feel like if I'm in Wisconsin, it's going to be a
Yeah,
once in a lifetime thing for me. So
right.
I don't,
You're only an hour away from me. If
yeah.
that's the
So
case.
I don't really travel outside of New Hampshire. I've actually every event that I have this year is outside of New Hampshire, which is outside of the norm for me.
Right.
But this one's kind of special because I definitely don't travel that far. Um, but yeah, man, if I'm only an hour away from you, I'll pay
Yeah.
for your gas, man. Just
Yeah. My cousin lives right by Broadhead. So she actually went to that high school back in the 50s.
really,
Yeah, my cousin, she's in her 80s. Was my dad's niece. Cuz my dad was the youngest out of 15 kids. 14 kids.
wow.
And his sister um was I think she was 15 years older than him, I think. My dad was born in 34. My first oldest uncle was born in 1903. So my grandpa was born in 1881.
That
So
is insane.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is insane. But yeah, dude, like I'll be at the Paranormal Rockdown at Broadhead this year in July. Um,
Okay.
I'll fucking pay for your hour drive gas, man. I would love to meet you in person.
Yeah, no, I would think that would be great. That would be fantastic. Let's see if we can't make that happen. Yeah. Um. So what else? Places. What other places are you going to?
Man, I'm glad I wrote down a list because I wouldn't remember this. July 12th and 13th, I'll be at the Connecticut Paranormal Convention and True Crime Conference. Um, that's going to be a fun event. It's held by Charles Rosenet and Thomas
Yep.
Patrick Gormley. It's going to be a
Had them
fun
both
event.
on the show once. Yep.
Great people. They're
Oh
amazing
yeah.
people. July 18th and 19th, as I've already said, I'll be at the Paranormal Rockdown, which actually I will be there July 17th to the 20th.
Okay.
Um, I'm actually staying overnight in the location all 4 days. So
Nice.
I'm gonna sleep on the embalming table that they have. I'm gonna sleep pretty much wherever the hell I want because I just want to see what's gonna happen.
Right.
September 6th and 7th, man, I'll be at the Maine Paranormal and Horror Convention as a guest lecturer on Sunday, but I'll be there the whole weekend. And November 15th and 16th, I cannot announce it yet because it has not been formally announced on Facebook by the coordinator. But November 15th and 16th, I'll be down in Salem, Massachusetts. There's also a plausibility that in May on the 17th and 18th, I'll be at Penhurst Paracon Convention.
Nice. Nice.
I'm gonna be all over the place this year.
Right. Oh, that's
Unfor-
cool.
Unfortunately, I had to turn down an event in Tennessee. I got invited to an event in Tennessee, just outside of Gatlinburg, but it was for charity, so I really would have loved to have done it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it was the same weekend as my daughter's graduation, so I'm already flying to
Oh yeah.
Florida. I mean,
Yeah. You can't mess that up.
yeah, because
No.
trust me, I would never hear the end of it.
No, you would not. No.
But yeah, man, I'm gonna be all over the place, and that's not to mention the after this, I think 20 podcasts I have booked within the next 3 months. So
Man, busy. Very busy.
it's gonna be busy. I got another one on Thursday. I've got three next week. Then I got a 2 week break because I don't have any podcast book after that. And then once um March hits, I think it's two a week.
Oh
It's
wow.
it's it's gonna be busy.
Ah, I guess so.
It's difficult keeping track of it all
Hmm. Hmm.
because
No,
I'm not
that's
used to
cool.
this. Like I don't do this for fame. I don't do this to get on
Right. Right.
podcasts. I don't do this
Right.
for money.
Right. Right.
It, but I love the connections that I make. I love the people that I come in contact with.
Hmm.
And you grow friendships through it, and that's why I love doing podcasts. I love doing this, and I will always be thankful for you having me back on the show. I know it wasn't the same show, but
No, but it's still we still get to hang out and shoot the shit. You know, and I can look forward to possibly seeing you in July. I mean,
I would love that.
yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. So why don't we're wrapping things up? Why don't you tell people where they can find you and go?
So the main place you can find me is on TikTok at Static Voices. But if TikTok does indeed get shut down in a few months, you can find me on YouTube at Static Voices as well. You can find me on Twitter at Paranormal Nate. You can find me on Instagram at Nathaniel Elwell. You can find me on Facebook at Nathan Elwell. If you go to my Facebook, you're going to find two different profile pictures. Just go for the one of the older picture because I have two and I can't figure out how to disengage the other one. So,
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, Nate, I want to say thank you for coming on. This has been great. Just
no,
shooting shit
thank
with
you
you
for
and hanging
having me.
out. Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Everybody, you can find this episode on YouTube. It will be uploaded as well onto all the normal podcast outlets, iHeartRadio, Spotify, etc., etc. I want to thank Nate again, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. So, on that note, I will see you on the next episode, which is yet to be announced. So,
Well, let me
thank
know when it's
you.
announced, brother, and I will
Yeah.
push it on my TikTok. I'll push it on my socials, man. I'll get you views.
Okay. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much.